Okay, let's just immediately step out of the ordinary here. I want you to forget what you think you know about cooking. Forget the complex recipes, the fancy restaurant kitchens, all of it. Because today, in this explainer, we're looking at something you probably make completely alone, standing in your kitchen, late at night, maybe even in your pajamas. But to truly understand the absolute alchemy of what we're about to discuss, we need to set a deeply immersive, almost atmospheric tone. So listen closely. This space is not for reality right now. It's for imagination. If you're watching this in the quiet of the night, just put your phone down for a second, close your eyes slightly, and let the words paint pictures in your mind. Don't overthink whether this is real or not, because in this story, imagination is what's driving the narrative. All right, open your eyes. Because believe it or not, we aren't talking about some mythical potion here. We are talking about cheese toast. Yep, just plain old cheese on toast. And I'm about to hook you with a pretty shocking revelation. This simple, late-night comfort snack is arguably the oldest cooked dish in human civilization. Literally. It precedes every single documented culinary tradition in history. Think about it for a second. The exact moment bread and cheese existed in the same human settlement, it was basically inevitable that someone would put them together near a fire. Why? Well, bread stales, right? Cheese hardens. And heat? Heat magically revives them both. And it's wild to look at how this evolved. We can trace this incredible journey straight from ancient campfires right to your modern kitchen. Get this. Ancient Roman legions marching across Europe actually carried hard cheese and flatbread as standard issue provisions. They'd heat them together to make a dish called libum. Then you fast forward to the 18th century and we get the deliberate, kind of brilliant humor of Welsh Rarebit, which is this composed dish of cheese melted with ale and mustard. The name itself is actually an inside joke, a corruption of Welsh Rarebit, basically the closest a poor person could get to the luxury of meat. And from there, boom, we see this worldwide parallel evolution. The croque monsieur in France, seganaki in Greece, Japanese milk bread or shokopan over in Tokyo, mallets in Mexico. Literally every continent, every culture. It just shows us how pure logic, not just culinary creativity, birthed this exact dish over and over and over again. So, we really have to ask ourselves, why is this more than just bread and cheese? Why does putting them together produce something infinitely greater than the sum of its parts? Look, it's not a coincidence. It isn't exact science. It's this precise sequence of chemical reactions that transforms three really basic inputs into a complex masterpiece. But the strangest part is yet to come. Part 1. The Flavor Symphony. Deconstructing the double Maillard reaction. So let's peel back the microscopic science that's happening right before your eyes. In a properly made cheese toast, the famous Maillard reaction, that browning process that makes cooked food taste so incredibly good, it's actually happening twice simultaneously but chemically differently. Down on the bread surface, amino acids in the wheat proteins are reacting with the reducing sugars in the bread. This is driven by direct heat, forming literally hundreds of flavor compounds and that golden crispy crust. Meanwhile, up on the cheese surface, dairy proteins are reacting with lactose, milk sugar, to create completely different Maillard compounds. That's exactly what creates those beautiful caramelized golden brown spots on top. Two totally different reactions, two completely different flavor profiles, all delivered together in one single bite. But what almost no one knows is butter is the real secret here. Butter isn't just some cooking fat to keep things from sticking. No, it is a highly engineered flavor amplification system. When you apply butter before toasting, its 80% fat content acts as this incredible delivery vehicle, literally dissolving the aromatic compounds from the bread and carrying them directly to your palate. And it gets better. The milk solids in the butter undergo their own browning, adding a third dimension of flavor known as bière noisette or brown butter. Think about it. If you butter your toast after it's cooked, you're just adding fat. If you butter it before, you are chemically altering the entire flavor profile. And this whole process brilliantly illustrates the strict temperature gradient of a perfect cheese toast. A flawlessly executed slice isn't just one texture. It's 5 distinct textures, simultaneously layered from bottom to top. Step 1. The bottom crust hits the highest temperature, yielding maximum crispness. Step 2. The bread interior stays warm and soft, safely insulated from the direct heat. Step 3. The bread-cheese interface is slightly moist, acting as this textural transition zone. Step 4. The interior of the cheese is fully molten, just flowing beautifully. And finally, Step 5. The top surface of the cheese is hot, browned, and perfectly caramelized. 5 distinct textures, all in one single bite. It's kind of mind-blowing. Part 2. Anatomy of a melt.
the narrow window of perfection.
Now, let's examine the incredibly sensitive, completely time-bound chemistry of melting cheese. Because all that amazing texture we just talked about, it can be ruined in a matter of seconds. Seriously, when cheese hits the heat, a strict biological timer starts ticking. At 30 seconds, surface moisture evaporates. At 60 seconds, the fat begins to flow and the cheese turns glossy. At 90 seconds, the protein chains soften and the cheese becomes fully molten. At 120 seconds, the magic happens. Maillard's browning begins, and those beautiful golden spots appear. But watch out, look at 150 seconds. This is the absolute danger zone. The protein network collapses, the fat pools, and the cheese breaks, turning into this oily, greasy mess. The magic of a perfect cheese toast literally only happens in that critical, razor-thin 90 to 120 second window. Paying attention here is absolutely not optional.
So the crucial takeaway here is that perfect execution demands strict professional techniques. It's really not just slapping some cheddar on white bread and calling it a day. First, you must always butter before toasting. Second, you should use a thick-cut sourdough because its tight crumb structure physically resists the moisture trying to penetrate down from the melting cheese. Third, try a thin layer of Dijon mustard applied underneath the cheese. It acts as this genius chemical flavor bridge, with its acidity perfectly cutting through the heavy dairy fat. Fourth, you need exactly 40 to 50 grams of cheese for a standard slice to hit the optimal cheese-to-bread flavor ratio. And finally, you absolutely must finish with flaky sea salt to provide a pop of textural contrast and basically amplify the whole shebang. And get this, even the physical geometry of your cheese matters. Grated cheese gives you maximum surface area, meaning it melts faster and produces highly even browning. It's really the professional choice if you want a consistent, perfectly integrated melt. Sliced cheese, on the other hand, provides slower, much more deliberate melt. It gives you a super dramatic visual, holding its shape right into the final second, which results in a very distinct layered texture. So you actually have to choose your physical form wisely, based entirely on the exact outcome you're going for. Part 3. The final truth. The ultimate rule of consumption. All right, we've mastered the history. We've completely geeked out on the chemistry, but there is one absolute non-negotiable rule to eating this. 90. That is your number. You have exactly a 90-second eating window once that toast leaves the heat. I'm totally serious. The exact moment it comes off, the cheese is molten, the aromatic compounds are at their absolute peak volatility, and that 5-layer temperature gradient is completely flawless. But after 90 seconds, the cheese starts to set. The flow completely stops. Those amazing aromatics dissipate into the air, and frankly, the magic dies. The toast waits for absolutely no one. If you wait, you are literally not eating the best version of the dish. So, I leave you with this final thought. Will you ever treat bread, cheese, and fire the exact same way again? We've totally shattered the illusion of simplicity today. You now hold the ancient history, the thermodynamics, and the precise molecular techniques to execute absolute culinary perfection in under 10 minutes. The real question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge in your own kitchen tonight? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me. Keep experimenting, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.